Jenna, I'm just going to read this bio that she sent. She's a board certified sports dietitian, leap therapist, and movement enthusiast. She completed her master's degree at the Ohio State University, studying iron levels in recreational female runners while also working at the medical center on physiology research for muscular dystrophy. Her passion is in the opportunity to interpret the science and function of food for others to help have a healthy lifestyle free of symptoms and feeling their best. That's great. Welcome, Jenna. Thanks for coming with us today.
Thanks for having me. Excited to do this. I was at General Mills for the safety day, and we had a really good turnout and lots of questions. So,
right, that was up at JFB.
True.
But hopefully we have some JFBers here as well. But Jenna, I want to congratulate you. Just started a new entity, A4 Health. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Jenna, first off?
Yeah, so we are launching, website still under construction, but Matt, you will share my email address for anybody who wants to follow up with questions. And through A4 Health, we are working with a few D3 colleges and providing sports performance nutrition programs integrated into their curriculum and with the athletic department. And then the other bucket of services is just focusing on personalized nutrition, getting at the root of what is going on. So much of health can be just Googling something and trying out a diet or seeing what your neighbor was successful with. And nutrition is so personalized for someone to truly be successful and find a sustainable plan. So our goal is identifying that and creating a nutrition fingerprint for one to be successful with.
So in short, it's not a one size fits all with nutrition.
Right. And I connect everything with our gut being a fingerprint that's unique to us. And that's where we're absorbing nutrients, digesting our food. And if it's our own unique fingerprint, then we need our own unique profile of foods to figure out what our body feels best with.
That's great. So with that, I don't see any questions from the audience yet. And this is what we're here. We're here for you guys, but I do have some set questions. And I do want to point out too, I think Michelle just shared Jenna's email. And also I think she has a robust following on the old IG. See, I'm hip with all the kids and what they're doing now. Although I told by my kids that that's old, it's now Snapchatting, right? Or TikTok. But I don't know if Jenna's that hip, but she is very hip. I know that. So we had a couple questions on our last strength training presentation. And I don't know if those two individuals are still on, but just talking about number one, recovery and best recovery nutrition, I guess. And we talked a little bit about the chocolate milk. Everybody knows about that for the most part. But there's a specific question about beet juice. Can you expand on that at all, Jenna? Beet juice as a recovery tool?
Yeah, so beets are really high in nitrates. And when we consume nitrates, the body converts them to nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is a vasodilator. So when that's in our body, it dilates our blood vessels. And if you think about what's going on there, if your blood vessel expands, you have more blood flow, more oxygen, more nutrients that your blood is carrying that can get to the tissue. It actually is beneficial pre-workout or post-workout because of that function that it does with your blood vessels and nutrient transport. So beforehand, you're getting extra oxygen throughout your body that's going to help boost up your energy and how you feel going into a workout. Afterwards, it's just the efficiency of nutrients for healing and recovery are getting to the tissue faster.
And do you think, are there better options than beet juice, or is beet juice the only option we have for that?
Beets are the cream of the crop. And part of that probably too is just the most evidence-based research in performance and surrounding nitrate containing foods has been with beets. Celery and spinach are two other vegetables that are higher in nitrates. So those can be other ones to think about.
Okay, great. So I also wanted to ask one more question. I think this was about recovery, but also just about protein with strength training. And I did try to answer this, Jenna. So I want to see if I was right or not. But I did tell people to tune in. But what's your opinion on if the regular average strength trainer, do we need branched chain aminos, or what are those? Number one, and then what are your thoughts as a supplement?
So protein, I'll start at the protein in general, whether it's chicken, beans, eggs, etc., is a really long molecule, and it's made up of amino acids. There are 9 amino acids that are considered non-essential, and that's because our body can make them on its own, and we don't need to consume them from food. There's another 9 that are your essential amino acids. And the reason they're essential is because we can't make them on our own and we need to get them from food sources. Of those essential, there's like the elite 3 that are the branched chain amino acids. So they are ones that we have to consume in our diet in order to get the benefits. The one of those branched chain amino acids is called leucine, and the importance of it for during workouts or right after a workout is that leucine turns on muscle protein synthesis. So when we think about workouts and just in general having our chocolate milk afterwards for recovery, we're getting in grams of protein, but for that muscle tissue to really take up that protein and turn over new muscle cells and repair and get stronger, we need enough leucine to completely flip that switch. So research shows it's about 2.2 to 2.5 grams of leucine. And depending on the type of protein powder you have or the amount of chocolate milk, you might not be getting enough leucine to fully flip that switch to synthesize new muscle cells and turn on the muscle protein synthesis. So that's where it gets a little individualized on just what your recovery protocol is. And sometimes if you're more plant-based, you would need extra leucine, and adding the branched chain amino acids can get you that quantity that you need.
And I know people can read labels here, but is leucine, if I take some BCAAs, am I sure to get that leucine in that supplement?
Yes, and it will break it down on there. If it doesn't, then it's not a good supplement, and don't take that one.
So in short, the supplements might add a little bit more than just eating a can of tuna or something. If so, the branched chains, if you're working out with heavy resistance, that might be a good idea.
Absolutely. And so that's where supplements continue to think of that name. It's truly to supplement all the food that you have in your diet. It's not to replace any of the food. So just having BCAAs or just having a protein powder isn't going to give you the same benefits as doing, say, the can of tuna, a couple of crackers, and the BCAAs. That'd be kind of your best route.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you. Well, we have some questions rolling in, Jenna, and I know that another hot thing that we should discuss at some point is just immunity and how to boost our immunity during these uncertain, crazy times. But I do want to get to the audience here a little bit because that's why we're here. Do you have any experience with the Whole30 eating method? I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, so the Whole30 is an approach that eliminates the number of foods, including wheat products, dairy products, because it's getting rid of lactose. And I do work with individuals who try out Whole30. It's one that can really help promote whole food eating, because if there's something that has an extra preservative, or you're trying to not have as much ice cream in the evenings, focusing on Whole30, your diet and your meal planning is all around using whole foods. And people feel a lot better because they're just automatically adding in more whole fruits, more vegetables to their diet. It's one example though of anyone can try it. You might still be sensitive or be creating inflammation from some of those foods on that plan. So I work with individuals who are sensitive to potatoes, or well, potatoes aren't on Whole30, but would be sensitive to oats or broccoli or an apple. And so they're practicing Whole30, but then they're still consuming foods that are triggering symptoms in their body. And that's where we would need to get more detailed at getting at the root of what's going on and what diet plan works best for them. But if you're starting out and kind of don't know where to start, there's so many cookbooks and websites that are Whole30 based, even brands of food that will label themselves as Whole30 compliant. So it can be a really easy self-starter approach to eating more whole foods.
That's great. Hopefully, Grace, that answers your question. We have another one here from Denise. Working from home with a full pantry, what would you suggest for healthy snacks during the workday?
Great question. I think so many of us are in that boat. So one thing is just making sure your snack is a combination of types of nutrients. And when I talk about types of nutrients, it's your bigger macronutrients, which are carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Ideally, a snack is meant to sustain you in between meals. We like to think of snacks as just something fun, an excuse to eat more food throughout the day, but it truly should be something that gives us energy, gives us fuel, fuels our brain, and stabilizes our blood sugar. So when we come up with a snack idea, we want to combine two of those three macronutrients. So you could do a carbohydrate with a protein with a fat, and some examples might be almonds with a banana or carrots with hummus. Instead of just doing something independently like snacking on cucumber slices, you could go through 11 cucumbers, really. That'd be a lot of water. But if you combine that cucumber with pistachios, a string cheese, hummus again, then you're making that snack last longer. So those are a couple of things. And then this is a way you can just individualize it to what's in your pantry or what you have at home, is what's something in that carbohydrate column, and then how can you grab something in either a protein column or a fat column to make it a complete snack. Could be crackers and peanut butter.
Okay, great. So there is no Reese's Pieces column at all? All right. Those are, sometimes I'll try not to go to those snacks, but that's great. I love the almonds. Those are always easy to take a handful and put in a spot and keep those in your pantry. So hopefully, Denise, that answers your question. I like that, combining the two macros. I have another one here from Tammy. Another question: what's your opinion? And these are hot topics right now. I know you touched on this on our presentation a few months ago. Your opinion on the keto diet?
So my thoughts and I am very much an evidence-based person. I like to take what we've seen in the research and what's going to be effective before giving out recommendations. Keto is something that there's some great research with endurance athletes and prioritizing fat as a fuel. I should say, anyone listening, a ketogenic diet is where you adjust your eating to be very, very low carbohydrate, like under 50 grams of carbs in an entire day. and high fat. So the body flips when it normally metabolizes carbohydrates as a fuel source for your brain and the rest of your muscles, and instead uses fat as that fuel source. And one of the benefits is just carbohydrates provide 4 units of energy per gram. Fat provides 9 units of energy per gram. So you're getting a lot more energy per small amount. Your blood sugars are more stable. You can go longer without feeling sugar cravings and needing to eat. The negative with keto is that it tends to be not sustainable over a long period of time. And what we're now seeing in the research is that individuals who are practicing keto for a long period of time, it's impacting their gut bacteria and their bone health because they've eliminated some key fibers and minerals from their diet. And so we want healthy bones. Don't want to set ourselves up for low bone density or risk of injury, breaking something. And then the gut bacteria is super important because that influences our resilience, our immune system, and our mood is another really important one.
Great. So it's a great way to start, but not sustainable. And there are some negatives with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to move on because it's the same topic. And Kendall, I'm going to come back to you. Kendall has a question. I'm going to go to Lisa's because I think it kind of goes hand in hand with this keto. What's your opinion on intermittent fasting?
Intermittent fasting is something that I'd say it has more benefits. Now, I work with a variety of individuals, and there are certain populations, medical issues that intermittent fasting is not good. So it's really important. I don't want to generalize and say everybody tuning in should try out intermittent fasting because there's risks involved, but the benefit with an intermittent fast, it's when you go a longer period of time without eating. So a really popular intermittent fasting schedule is what's called a 16 and 8. And what that means is you're fasting for 16 hours of your day and you're eating for 8 hours. When the body fasts, when you're not having any fuel, you can have water. After 12 hours, there's something called autophagy that starts to happen. And what that is, it stands for a cell eating itself, but that's not totally what happens. But it's like self-care for your cell. And if you think about it, from the moment we wake up, our bodies are busy doing things, whether we're digesting food, we're managing our day, we're working out, we're stressing about something. Our whole body and the trillions of cells are constantly taking care of what's going on and what their role is in our body. They build up waste and toxins throughout the day, and they don't necessarily have enough time to do their own self-care because then we wake up again and start the routine all over. After 12 hours, autophagy starts and that cell can take care of itself. And so there's evidence on better blood sugar control, more balanced hormone levels, less cravings, better brain cognitive function. So there's some really good benefits of either doing like a 14-hour or that 16-hour fast and giving your body those 2 or 4 hours of autophagy to happen for cell renewal and repair.
That's great. So it can be used more for just weight loss, but also you're turning your cells over and creating new cellular activity to help those cells stay healthy. Autophagy is the word for the day. So we'll take that home for dinner tonight, right? All right. I'm going to go back to Kendall's here, and I do want to leave some time. I'll be respectful for people heading to other meetings or lunches that we end on time. But I want to get to a couple more questions, and then I want to talk quickly if it's a quick topic about being your immune system and how nutrition can benefit that. But Jenna, how do you steer your clients who jump from one fad diet to the next to a long-term lifestyle with nutrition, with a healthy relationship with nutrition? That's a good equation, right?
Yeah, that's a golden question too. Uh, so I start off by just understanding the motivation behind whatever their goal is. I think there's so much surface level topics around food and what somebody else is doing and what they're successful with. And we can get frustrated really quickly. Just our society too wants black and white answers, and we want them yesterday. So if we're not seeing results, then we're ready to jump to something else. And it's important to just first pause and lay out why you want to make this change. What is it going to mean? What do you visualize happening differently in your life if you were to achieve this goal? And getting some of that mental preparedness around what that goal is, so that when you're faced with some challenging decisions and we're working on making changes with your nutrition, we can always go back to that deeper motivation and say, remember, this is ultimately what you want. Keep that as a forward thought and a priority to help guide you through these choices. And setting yourself up with that at the beginning can be really powerful in helping you stay on track and know that everything you're doing is unique to you and your body and at your pace. So just building up that confidence too, that you're doing the right thing for your health.
That's
If that
great.
helps answer that.
It's great for a starting point and to keep people on the correct path, because I do feel like nutrition is underrated, but it's coming more to the forefront now and how it can influence a healthy lifestyle. I think that's great. Ask one more question, and then let's talk about the immunity. Is there a source, when going back to your snack answer, is there a source that lists the carb, protein, fat for the snacks you discussed? I'm new to watching my nutrition, and this would be helpful.
Well, I could email out a food guide that might be a good starting place.
I'm sure you could email it to Michelle or I, and we'd be happy to post it somewhere. But go ahead. I'm sorry, stepped on
I
your
was
toe.
going to say, I have a handout that just kind of lists the foods in each category that might be a good starting place to look at that. Because one thing, and maybe some of you are aware, that a fruit, it's good. It has fibers and vitamins, but it would have more carbohydrates in it than a vegetable. So I do put those in. I put your fruit in the same category as your cereal, and trying to combine that fruit with the nuts or the pretzels with the nuts. So I think it's helpful. And sometimes I just have to create things myself because I don't find something online that matches what I'm looking for. So that's why I jump to, if I can send out a handout, I'll just do that.
That'll be great, and then we can post that on our different platforms. With the last few minutes here that we have, and I'm fine hanging out if there's more questions. Jenna, do you have a hard stop at 12:30?
No, I don't. I wanted to add to Kendall's question.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna just add too, I think that we are getting a lot more data driven and personalized in the type of information that we want. Just we're attracted to something that better defines our own body. And if someone is jumping in between plans, there are a couple tools that I use too, if it's helpful for that person to better understand what sort of data we can get from their body. That might be a blood test to look closer at what's going on internally and what sort of foods are going to make the most sense in this moment. And I find that can also be motivating for somebody when they're actually, instead of, even though I'm a registered dietitian with years of experience, still just having this black and white sheet that says, hey, here's what your body is responding to or what nutrients it's absorbing can be a helpful tool too to set them on the right track. So wanted to add that in.
Okay. And Michelle, are we okay going over a little bit with being respectful to company policy?
Yeah, good to go.
Okay.
We'll put
All
the
right.
recording on Yammer if anybody needs to leave early and wants to see the additional information.
Okay. And I do think this is a hot topic, and I meant to lead with this. Can you discuss building immunity with nutrition? I guess what's helpful, what's hurtful, maybe the relationship between immunity and inflammation?
Yeah,
I know that's a lot.
Well, so over 70% of our immune system stems from our gut. So it's really important to be thinking about our food choices because those are coming into our gut and they're affecting the quality of our immune system, the strength of our white blood cells, how they function, how they respond when there are viruses, foreign pathogens, and bacteria in our body. So food is super important for influencing our immune health. And some things to keep in mind for that could negatively impact that are just excessive amounts of sugar in a single sitting. That can be an extra stressor on the gut, and it feeds certain bacteria in our gut that we don't want to be overpopulating our gut. If we think of, this isn't an exact number, but our gut has the capacity of 100 residents. If we're planting a couple sugar residents and then we keep planting more and they take over the community, we got a lot of junk going on there and it's kicked out all the good residents that we appreciate. So we want to support that community, and some foods that can help would be certain types of fibers, and that ranges from berries to broccoli and Brussels sprouts to oats are a really good prebiotic, which means it feeds the probiotic or that bacteria in our gut. And garlic and onion and artichokes are all some good choices, plus the whole legume category, which would be your lentils, your black beans, your garbanzo beans. Those all positively feed our gut, which in turn has a drastic effect on the quality of our immune system.
That's great. Outstanding. So before we close, are there anything else, any other questions that we can answer? Or Jenna, do you have any final thoughts on anything?
If
Put you on the spot.
Yeah. If there's no other questions, I think just going back to how we opened this discussion, in that nutrition is very much a one size fits one. So if you're trying some different things, you have a health goal in mind, and you're feeling lost or frustrated, know that your body is unique to you. And so just because someone was successful online or a coworker was successful doing one thing and it's not working for you, it doesn't mean that you've failed or done something wrong. It means that your gut and your body appreciate a different pathway, a different approach, different combination of foods, and it's not what your coworker's doing.
Good point. That's outstanding. So in closing, thank you, Jenna, for coming. It's always a joy to talk to you, and I learn something every time. So that's good. I just want to also say we're looking forward to what you're going to do with A4 Health, and we'll look forward to sharing that website when it gets up and running.